creative director at Sliding Mad Studios.
Excellent, excellent. So, Project Cars 2, this game was announced a little while back, 2015, I believe. What if you could kind of set the stage for us? Going into the sequel, what are your priorities? What were you looking to improve on from the first game?
Yeah, so I mean, we caused a bit of controversy when we announced the sequel so soon after the first game, but that shouldn't be weird because it's the same as the movie industry. You know, Captain America comes out and it's looking like it's going to do box office success.
You stay after the credits to see the preview for the next one.
So of course they announced like the sequel because they're so confident that it's going to do well, that it's worthy. They know it's worthy of a sequel. It's definitely going to happen. That was the same with us. The game leading up to launch looked like it was going to do extremely well. Day one, it did phenomenally well in terms of reviews and everything. So we were like, thank you, fans. You've done so well for us. Like, we made the game alongside you, and you've made it a huge success now that, yes, you've made it possible for a sequel to even happen. So going through into the sequel game, we were like, yeah, there's tons of stuff we either didn't get to or we knew were going to snowball into like a much bigger feature that were deserving of a sequel. So yeah, here we are now, a few years later, and we've not just done an iterative sequel, we've done a really huge, mammoth, ambitious game just like the first one was.
So what was priority one for you in this mammoth sequel? What was the big thing that you wanted to do?
Well, I mean, the first thing, which I guess you guys at home should all know very clearly, is that the first thing we did was take on all the feedback from the first game and fix all that straight away. So we fixed things like gamepad handling, which we were a little criticized for. That it wasn't great out of the box. We gave you different presets so it would feel like other racing games out there, but generally people wanted it to be brilliant, you know, as soon as they put the disc in the tray. Quite deservedly so, right? You know? Absolutely. So yeah, we fixed that. We fixed forced feedback. We fixed like sticking issues between the cars. When you hit them, you felt like you were kind of magnetized them to them a little bit. And then we brought on board the big manufacturers that were maybe missing from the first game. So we fixed all that stuff that the players wanted first. And then we moved on to the big features like online championships, putting esports stuff in there from day one, increasing the track roster, advancing on our technology, Live Track 3.0, to have localized weather and seasonal changes now, as well as the dynamic time of day and weather. You might have heard some other racing games talk about, well, that's adorable, and they've only just got to that. You know, we're here to say we had that in our first game, and we're raising the benchmark even higher with the second game now.
Very good, very good.
So how did you get involved with Project Cars 2? When did the idea come about, and what did you contribute?
Yeah, I mean, we'll never be happy. We're big perfectionists. You know, I guess every game developer can say that, absolutely. But the fact that we made the game with the fans, they're all perfectionists as well. So, you know, to break the fourth wall down for the guys watching at home, you know, usually a company like ourselves would come to E3 having made the game in the dark for 2 years, and then present it to you guys and the public now at E3 and get feedback from those guys. And unfortunately, you know, we're in June now. Project Cars 2 launches September 22nd. Sometimes it's too late to incorporate that feedback into the game, and you're kind of stuck with what you've shown to people with only minor changes being made.
That out-of-the-box game, right?
Exactly. But now, because we made it alongside the fans, you know, the idea for the second game came along before the first game had even shipped. We were like, we asked the fans, like, should we get to loose surface racing? And they were like, no, stick with tarmac-based stuff for this game. Do loose surface in the next game. Which is why now we've added Rallycross, which is this amazing, awesome new motorsport that I personally am very invested in. And we're also adding ice racing in there as well. So no longer do you have to buy a second dirt-based game that does all that stuff. It's all now all under the same roof as Project Cars, as well as the IndyCar license, which we wanted to get to in the first game as well. So yeah, as I said, it's just as ambitious and as bold as the first time.
I think that's one of the perks of writing a simulation racer. As technology gets better, you can harness it and make your game more and more realistic to improve that authenticity.
Absolutely. You know, you'll hear other racing games out there saying they're the most authentic racing game, the most technically accurate. Like, again, it's adorable that they're just getting to 4K. Like, you come over to our booth, in the Namco booth over there, you can play in 12K, you can play in VR.
That looks more realistic than a real car.
Absolutely, you know, and you know, the real racing drivers get in there and they put the VR helmet on, and when they go to crash, they immediately go to the brace position because it tricks their minds so much that they believe it's real,
Sure.
and they don't want to break their hands, so they release their hands away from the wheel, go into the crash position because something has taken over their mind, and they think, yeah, this is totally realistic.
Right.
Where did you draw inspiration from? Did you play a lot of racing games like back in the day?
Oh yeah, like I mean, I got into the industry in 2000, but I've been a racing gamer all my life, right back from Jeff Crammond's Formula One Grand Prix on the Amiga, back to even further back in time with Continental Circus and Outrun, of course, Chase HQ, which is one of my favorite racing games. Please give us the license, we will make an awesome racing game for Chase HQ, that'd be amazing. And then all the way through Dreamcast with Project Gotham Racer, sorry, Metropolis Street Racer first, and then Project Gotham. So yeah, we play every racing game, big fans of that, and that's what originally kind of like got the studio known, because we rebooted the Need for Speed franchise when that was going downhill slightly, and we came along with like fresh new ideas that pulled from like other genres, like first-person shooters. Like when you crash, it felt like a grenade going off. We pulled from RPGs. Like we were one of the first games to have like XP, and you're earning XP and stuff like that. And now it's pretty common for that stuff to be done. So yeah, we're massive racing game fans. The whole studio is, and yeah, personally, yeah, I love to bring aspects of and inspiration from other genres and bring it into racing.
So when I play a racing game, I think there are two characters, so to speak. You got the cars, but also the tracks. And I'm really impressed at the amount of new tracks you're adding. And you said that was a bullet point, a big focal point for you guys in this game. So what types of tracks did you want to add that weren't in the first game?
Yeah, I mean, we've got the largest track roster on any console racing game, and that's really important to us because it's called Project Cars, meaning it's for people all the way around the world. I bet me and you have very different style, preferences for cars, and the same for tracks. American tracks like Watkins Glen and Laguna Seca and Sonoma are very important for the American audience, whereas Spa and Nordschleife and things like that are very important for a European audience. I would argue that they're more international, I would say, potentially, but also, we want to make sure that every racing gamer from around the world can pick up a track that they either know or is something that they watch on TV and is there for them to play, or they've visited in real life on a track day or something like that, and they can play it and it's there in the game to be played. And you can now play it, as I said, in the snow, in the ice, in the autumn with the leaves falling from the trees, as well as in the night time, in various weather conditions, blizzards and things like that. It's a key part of our mentality to make sure it has a global appeal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
I just completely blanked out. I'm sorry.
I could jump in here real quick though. I had a question for you. We talked a lot about like the new tracks, day-night cycle, weather. What is your favorite feature? Your personally?
I mean, the one thing that my personal preference is for is a feature that it has broad spectrum of uses, and that is the competitive racing license that we've added to the game.
Okay.
So casual audiences, we're all used to going into a racing game and there's some idiot on turn one who crashes and ruins our experience and things like that. And actually in our previous games we've tried to fix that and alleviate that in certain ways. With Project Cars 2 we finally fixed it. So now the competitive racing license, it tracks your racecraft, i.e. how professional you are out on the track. It tracks your level of success, how successful, how many wins you get, and also how long you've been playing the game for. Mm-hmm. So day one, everyone will put the disc into the drive or download it nowadays and play their kind of almost like their promotion matches online. And your online racing license will start to gather data, and then every time therefore you'll be match made into races with people who have certain similar racing licenses, right?
Okay.
So there is a special layer of hell for the people who crash all the time and stop the car and blockade the road and turn backwards and start hitting you. Yeah, they all have a tough climb to get out of that. If they like doing that, please don't play Project Cars if you're that kind of person. But the professional players, the esport players, those guys are going to be having diamond tier logos and licenses, high score levels,
Right.
high win percentages, all that kind of stuff. And therefore, yeah, it really does have a broad spectrum of the everyday gamer, the casual gamer sat there with a gamepad, with a feet up on a Saturday night with a beer. They're going to have a good experience. And then if you want to take it professionally, those guys who are there going to be climbing the rank ladders, those guys are going to be match made with better and better and better players until, like we do in our esports, find the fastest drivers, most professional teams out there. And yeah, that's all starting in Season 4 when Project Cars 2 launches.
Do you find yourself ever torn between needing to, I guess casual racing fans probably don't, it feels like inherently simulation racers kind of cater to the car people, you know, but do you feel yourself torn between like, okay, should we do this for casual fans, but we also have to think about the real hardcore esports guys, something like that?
So what we did was, in the first game, we gave you all the options and features, allowed you to play it tailored to what you wanted, but it was kind of overwhelming, all the options and features that were there. With Project Cars 2, we've had a different mentality. All the stuff that the hardcore guys there, the sim racing guys and the esport guys there, is all there, but even on a user interface level, we separate things out into what the casual player would want to access and be able to just, you know, hit track and change that, hit card, change that, press start and off you go.
Okay.
And then if you want deeper, more refined tuning, you can go into advanced settings and get all that stuff there. So it's in there, it's just a lot more accessible, a lot more usable this time around.
Excellent, excellent. Well, thanks a lot for coming on, Andy. It was great to meet
absolutely.
you.
Yeah,
Great.
The pleasure was all ours, man.
Yeah, and we'll be back shortly. Follow us on Twitter, Shaq News, and we're going to talk about Nino Cooney coming up next.